Good morning. It's Monday morning. We're going to read from Acts 21 through 34. After these things had been accomplished, Paul resolved in the Spirit to go through Macedonia and Achaia and then on to Jerusalem. He said, "After I've gone there, I must also see Rome." So he sent two of his helpers, Timothy and Erastus, to Macedonia, while he himself stayed for some time longer in Asia. About that time, no little disturbance broke out concerning the way. A man named Demetrius, a silversmith who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought no little business to the artisans. These he gathered together with the workers of the same trade and said, "You know that we get our wealth from this business. You also see and hear that not only in Ephesus, but in almost the whole of Asia, this Paul has persuaded and drawn away a considerable number of people by saying that gods made with hands are not gods. And there is danger not only that this trade of ours may come into disrepute, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be scorned, and she will be deprived of her majesty that brought all Asia and the world to worship her." When they heard this, they were enraged and shouted, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" The city was filled with confusion, and people rushed together to the theater, dragging with them Gaius and Aristarchus, Macedonians who were Paul's travel companions. Paul wished to go into the crowd, but the disciples would not let him. Even some officials of the province of Asia, who were friendly to him, sent him a message urging him not to venture into the theater. Meanwhile, some were shouting one thing, some another, for the assembly was in confusion, and most of them did not know why they had come together. Some of the crowd gave instructions to Alexander, whom the Jews had pushed forward, and Alexander motioned for silence and tried to make a defense before the people. But when they recognized that he was a Jew, for about 2 hours all of them shouted in unison, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians." So a riot breaks out in Ephesus because Demetrius, who is a silversmith and who makes his money from making little statues of Artemis, arouses his co-workers and says, we can't have this stuff going on. He's going to take away our business. And not only that, he's taking away the worshipers of Artemis. Now, the temple at Ephesus to Artemis, or Diana, the Romans called her, was a gigantic thing. It was huge. It was one of the 7 wonders of the world. There's nothing left of it now but a couple of stones in the ground, but in those days it was a gigantic temple, a huge thing, and had a very large statue of Artemis in it. And so it was one of the things that you had to see if you had the means to do any traveling around. You wanted to go to Ephesus and see this large temple. And there was quite a business of selling things that, as souvenirs sort of thing. Everywhere we went in Paris a month ago, you'd see little guys selling little tiny statues of the Eiffel Tower for €1. €1, €1. And they're everywhere. And even when you were nowhere near the Eiffel Tower, you could still buy one of these things because everybody had them for sale, and everybody thought, this is what visitors want, is a statue of the Eiffel Tower. I bought a larger one in the airport because I did want one, but I wasn't going to buy one on the street and carry it around in my pocket. It's the same thing in Ephesus. And the crowd comes together, and they're all there, and half of them don't know why they're there, and they're all shouting one thing and another. It's kind of like the video I've seen of the January 6th mob. A lot of those people don't seem to know really what's going on. Some people are leading the charge into the Capitol, and other people are just sort of standing around shouting things. And I think it was a little like that. I think the crowd was there, and the crowd mob mentality took over, and they begin to shout things and do things, and some of them don't even know why. But they warn Paul not to go in there, and then he doesn't, and some other people come forward trying to speak to the people, and they just shout him down for 2 hours, it says. So this is quite an event, and we'll see how it's resolved tomorrow. For us today, what does this mean? Well, I think it means that when we proclaim the gospel in ways that alienate the surrounding culture and the typical mindset of the people around us, we're going to face opposition, and there's going to be trouble. And as late John Lewis said, if there's not good trouble, then you're not doing it right. And that may be true for us. So think about that today, and think about how easy it is for someone to stir up bad trouble in opposition to the faith. And we will see you again Tuesday morning.